The shipping container solved the crisis of global freight by doing exactly one thing: presenting a uniform shape to every crane. Today, modern distributed computing suffers from the exact same crisis. We move immense volumes of work across vast clusters, yet we have no standard, carryable unit of compute. Raw Kubernetes workloads are essentially loose freight, unpackaged, chaotic collections of effort that lack inherent boundaries, making their provenance impossible to track. KubeContainer version 0.1.0 is the reference implementation designed to solve this directly. It takes that scattered, raw computational effort and binds it into a single, accountable software agent. Externally, the KubeContainer presents exactly one standardized contractual surface to the broader Kubernetes fabric. Through that surface, 12 lines of YAML reliably become a running, exposed, and self-healing workload. The KubeContainer enforces a strict separation between the human who dictates intent and the machine that executes the delivery. By standardizing the computational box, we enforce that separation. We turn unproven effort into a mathematically accountable asset that can be priced, insured, and traded. To understand how that accountability works, we have to look at the boundary dividing the human from the machine. This is the declarative input, a 12-line custom resource definition that acts as the literal lid of the container. This lid forms the first architectural layer, intent. The human principal writes exactly what they want on the outside, and nothing more. Next is the definition layer. The operator reads that intent and spawns the Kubernetes primitives, deployments, services, autoscalers, defining the desired state. Finally, the convergence layer takes over. A continuous reconcile loop pulls the chaotic cluster state until it perfectly matches the desired state. Throughout this process, the KubeContainer remains entirely opaque to the outside system regarding how it manages those internal primitives. If any of those managed children drift from their defined parameters, the reconciliation loop automatically reverts them. This total internal opacity protects the execution from interference, while keeping the container perfectly contractual at its visible surface. By structurally isolating what you want from how it is maintained, we prevent human operators from micromanaging the actual state. We eliminate the primary source of system drift entirely. This raises an immediate security problem. If a workload travels as a closed black monolith, how do you monitor a payload you cannot look inside? The answer relies on the concept of the seal. The container moves through the cluster fabric completely opaque to the intermediaries carrying it. If anyone attempts to unbox the payload before it reaches the final verified principal, the contract is immediately voided. We do not enforce this by asking the intermediaries to be well behaved. The enforcement mechanism is mathematically guaranteed tamper-evidence. Instead of letting you look inside, the container streams state transitions outward via cloud events. Pulse waves broadcast its status: admitted, converging, or ready. External nodes subscribe to this telemetry flow, establishing a secure monitoring channel without breaching the payload sovereignty. Alongside this stream, the container carries a manifest. This acts as a historical record of provenance, logging exactly where the workload originated and every party that touched it. While the manifest provides a static historical ledger, the continuous event stream operates as the real-time present tense of the workload's journey. True sovereignty in a distributed system does not mean working in the dark. It requires combining total payload opacity with a perfect standardized layer of telemetry. Understanding how the box travels leads us to the deeper philosophy of what the box actually is. We are defining the requirements for computational agency. In the KubeContainer framework, agency is defined by a strict formula. Artifact plus identity plus governance equals agent. The artifact is the raw Kubernetes workload. On its own, it is simply an unowned control loop capable of execution. Identity provides the cryptographic binding that connects that workload to a specific human principal or addressee. If you remove that identity binding, the artifact reverts to unowned freight. It has capabilities, but no destination. Governance supplies the explicit bounds, policies, and laws that the agent must operate under. Apply governance without identity, and you have law without a subject. Apply identity without governance, and you have a rogue process. Modern automation assumes that a self-correcting machine loop is sufficient for agency, but if agency requires both identity and governance, then a loop that only closes on itself remains a mere artifact. The deepest safety property of this system is that every valid chain of delegation must ultimately terminate at a human mind. A machine loop that only closes on itself is motion without a mission. It generates evidence without a witness. True computational agency requires a human at the helm. It only exists when someone is there to answer the system's foundational gatekeeping question: whose is this? When we take these isolated agents and scale out, we see the macro structure of the Kubernetes fabric populated by uniform, predictable units. A technical specification without a functioning product to execute it is merely a brochure. Conversely, a product without a rigid specification is untrusted freight. You cannot price it, you cannot insure it, and you cannot claim it. Architectural value is the mathematical pairing of the two, the declaration on the lid and the actual execution inside, locked together. KubeContainer v0.1.0 achieves this today on stable APIs, producing cryptographic proof of the workload. It enforces internal state and garbage collects dependencies precisely. We are building a distributed system where computational work is finally bounded, accurately labeled, and stacked with perfect uniformity. Every result the system delivers has its exact provenance permanently attached, guaranteeing an unbroken chain of custody from the initial declaration to the final execution. This structural alignment creates a system of work woven from contracts, where every outcome is declared, kept by an autonomous loop, and verified by a manifest. By making computational work the same shape to every fabric, KubeContainer renders software deliverables locatable, defensible, and tradable.